Hey everyone, I hope you are doing well. In this video, we're gonna create a globe object in Adobe After Effects, so without wasting time, let's get started. At first, we need to create a composition in After Effects, so you can click on this New Composition button, or from the menu choose Composition, New Composition, or press Ctrl N. Let's give it a name in composition name, for example, 01 Globe. Okay, set the start frame to 0 and set the duration to 300 frames. Okay, as you can see in project window, we have this globe composition here. To create a globe object, I need to import a globe map. So, to import an image into After Effects, we can double click here in this project window, and here we have the import file window. Or let's press the escape key. We can right click here in project window and choose import file or press Ctrl I. Okay, now let's select this flat globe map file and press the import button. Okay, now we have this image in project window. If you want to use any external file in After Effects, you have to import them inside this project window. Let's create a folder by clicking on this small button. Let's rename it to image and move this image file into image folder. Now drag this image into globe composition timeline. Now I want to resize this image to fit it to the composition. So select it and from the menu choose Layer Transform. Here we have three options: Fit to Comp Width, and Fit to Comp Height. I use Fit to Comp Width to scale it up and fit it inside the composition. Now as you can see, left and right borders of the image aligned with the left and right composition borders. But I think we have some empty space here, so I think it's better to scale it up even more. So, while the layer is selected, press the S key to load the scale property, or you can click on this small arrow, open transform, and here you can see the scale property. Let's scale it up to, for example, 170, and maybe it's better to move it a bit. Hold the shift key to move it in a straight line to have a smaller empty area around the globe map. Okay, now I want to create a background for this map. So, from the menu choose Layer, New, Solid, or press Ctrl Y. Rename it to BG Globe. Click on Make Comp Size to make it identical to our composition size. And let's change the color and let's enter this code 0B2A43. Hit OK button and drag this solid layer under the globe map. And then lock it. Now I want to change the color of this map file, so select it and let's use this effects and preset panel. If you can't see this panel, simply from the menu choose Window, Effects and Presets, or press Ctrl 5. Okay, now let's find an effect called Fill, and as you can see, this fill effect is under the Generate folder. So we can find it in menu as well. Select the layer, from the menu choose Effect, Generate, Fill, or while the layer is still selected, double click on this effect in Effects and Preset panel, or simply drag this fill effect over the layer in timeline. The color changed to the default color, which is red, so let's change it to, for example, this bright blue. Okay, we have finished this globe composition, so let's go to Project panel. And now I want to create the final composition, so type final for the composition name. I don't change these settings, so let's press the OK button. Great. Now drag this globe composition inside the final composition. Now I want to change the shape of the globe to make it look like a sphere, so I'm gonna use an effect called CC Sphere. While the globe composition is still selected, double click on the CC Sphere effect. Okay, now let's add a background to this final composition, so let's create a solid layer and change its name to BG. Press the Make Comp Size button and hit OK. And drag it under the globe composition. Now I want to add a gradient color to this background, so in Effects and Preset panel, let's find an effect called 4-Color Gradient. And double click to apply it to the layer. Now let's move these points to the corner and do it for all these 4 corners. Now let's change the color, so for color 1, let's enter this code. 012C4F. For color 2, enter 003D70. And for color 3, let's enter 27689E. And finally for color 4, enter 418AC7. This is our background color. Now let's lock this BG layer as well. Now I want to change some properties of this globe sphere. So select it, and here in Effect Controls panel, let's change the radius value to, for example, let's enter 400. And in shading section, we have some properties. Let's increase the ambient to have a brighter color. Let's set it to, for example, 120. Let's decrease the diffuse value to have a flat style for the globe. Let's set it to, for example, 40. And let's adjust this specular parameter as well. As you can see, if I increase this specular value, we will have a hotspot area on the globe. So let's change it to 20. Okay, now I want to animate and add a rotation to this globe. First of all, let's make it a 3D layer. And now to rotate this globe, let's use this rotation parameter of CC Sphere effect in Effect Controls panel. Here we have 3 rotation axes, rotation X, Y, and Z. I'm going to use this rotation Y parameter to rotate the globe. And so let's go to frame 0, set a keyframe for rotation Y at value 0. Let's go to a few frames forward, for example to frame 250. And let's change it to, for example, 70. Now if we select this layer and press the U key, as you can see, for the rotation Y of the CC Sphere effect, we have these 2 keyframes. Now if I scrub in timeline, you can see that the globe is rotating nicely. Now I want to create a composition to add stars to the sky. So create a new composition, rename it to 0.2 stars, and leave all the settings as they are. Okay. Here we have the stars composition in project panel. Now I want to add a rectangle shape to this composition. So select rectangle tool, and for the fill color choose white. We don't need stroke, so let's change it to none. Now to create a rectangle shape, we can click and drag in composition window or just double click on this rectangle tool. Now we have it here. It covers the whole composition beautifully. And now let's rename the layer to stars. Okay, now I want to add an effect to this shape layer to simulate stars. So in Effects and Presets panel, let's find CC Ball Action. And while the stars layer is still selected, double click on this CC Ball Action effect. As you can see, we have several options here. I'm going to change this scatter value to, for example, 1020, which is the maximum value. Okay, let's change the grid spacing to, for example, 6. And let's decrease the ball size to, for example, 20. Now I want to add a camera to the scene so I can move between these stars. So from the menu choose Layer, New, Camera. I prefer to use a 28mm lens, but you can use a 35 or 50mm lens and it's up to you. Now I want to animate this, so let's go to frame 0, press the P key to load the position property. Let's change position Z, for example, let's change it to 0. And set the keyframe here. And now let's go to frame, say, 250, and let's change the Z value to -400. And now let's press the spacebar key to see the RAM preview. Okay, as you can see, we are moving between the stars in the sky. Very nice and a smooth transition. Let's open the final composition again and drag this stars composition into final composition under the globe layer. If I scroll up in timeline, you can see the result and make it a 3D layer as well. Now I want to add a glow effect around this globe. So select globe composition and press Ctrl D, or from the menu choose Edit, Duplicate. Select the bottom globe layer and rename it to Globe Glow. I want to add a color to this layer, so let's add a fill effect. Because this layer is under the globe layer, you can't see it, so let's hide top globe layer. Let's change color for this fill effect. For example, let's change it to 76FE. Now I want to blur it, so let's add Effect, Blur and Sharpen, Gaussian Blur. Let's increase blurriness to, for example, 140. And also let's change the scale value to, for example, 95. So it seems we have to increase the blurriness. So let's change it to, for example, 220. Now I want to parent globe glow to globe composition. So let's right click here and choose columns, parent and link. Now from this drop down box, select this globe layer. Or click on this pick whip icon and drag it over globe composition. Now as you can see, globe glow is parented to globe composition. Now I want to add a shadow effect to the left side of this globe, something like the shape of the crescent moon. So let's select this ellipse tool. To find the center of the screen, let's use this title action save tool. Click on this crosshair lines, then hold Ctrl-Shift keys together to create a perfect circle based on the point you clicked. Change the color to black if it's not by default. We don't need this crosshair tool, so let's hide it. Let's rename the layer to Globe Shadow and make it a 3D layer. I want to change the position of the shadow layer to have it exactly at the same position of the globe layer. So select shadow layer and press the P key to load the position property. Also, let's load position for globe layer. Suppose this shadow layer is somewhere else, for example here, a few pixels ahead. To have same position value for both layers, I'm going to copy and paste position value from globe to shadow layer. As you can see, we have different values for position Z in globe and shadow layer. So select position property of globe layer, hit Ctrl+C keys. Now select position property of shadow layer and choose Edit Paste. Now as you can see, we have the same position value for both layers. Now I want to cut this shadow layer to have something like the shape of the crescent moon. So while this layer is still selected, enable pen tool and also turn on this tool create mask button. Now click somewhere like here and hold the shift key to create a straight line. And finally click on the first point to close this mask shape. Now if I select this layer and press the M key, you can see this mask property. Now let's open mask properties. Here we can invert the mask. Maybe you want to see that portion of the shape that is outside of this mask area. Let's turn it off again. Now to change the shape of the mask, let's use this convert vertex tool. Click on the first point to enable these two handles. As you know, we can use the spacebar and left mouse button to pan in composition window. Now click on this handle and then hold the shift key to snap it to this edge. Now select and move this handle to find the best position for it. Follow the same process for this bottom point. Snap this handle to the horizontal edge. And move this one to create a nice shape for the crescent moon for this shadow layer. If you want to move one of these points, simply hold the Ctrl key and move it. And if you want to move it in a straight line, so hold the Shift key as well. If you click on the point without holding the Ctrl key, you will change the handle shapes. So don't forget to hold the Ctrl key. I think this shadow layer is bigger than the globe. Let's zoom in. Yes, to solve this problem, let's decrease the scale value. As a quick tip, to change a parameter with the small values, hold the Ctrl key and click and drag over this number. And I think 98 is a good value. And let's decrease the opacity by pressing the T key and change it to, for example, 20. Now open the mask property and let's change the mask feather to convert this sharp edge to a soft edge. So let me disable this mask and path visibility tool to be able to see the mask borders. Zoom in and increase the mask feather to, for example, 50. And again, enable this mask and path visibility tool. And finally, parent this shadow layer to globe composition. Now if I move this globe layer, as you can see, the glow and shadow layers move with the globe. When we add a camera to the scene and animate it, maybe this shadow layer will start to flicker because the shadow layer and the globe layer are at the same position. To solve this problem, I suggest moving it a little on the Z axis. So load the position property and change the Z value to, for example, -5. We have finished the globe and the sky, so now let's see a ramp review. So move the work area and handle to frame, for example, 250 and press the N key. Now press the spacebar key. Awesome, nice result. I hope you have enjoyed watching this video tutorial so far. In the next video, we are going to add more details to this scene, so don't miss it. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.